You're listening to Saturday Morning Media. And now, back to our show. Here we go.
Welcome back to the Grantcast, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Grant Baciocco, and it is an absolute pleasure to have you here, listening along, downloading. Thank you. Hope you are doing well. And, of course, a special shout-out to all the Saturday Morning Media Patreon patrons who help make this podcast possible. More about that at the end of the program. I recently did a short film. I talked about it here on the podcast. But just last weekend, as I'm recording this, the film premiered. And I'm recording this on Tuesday, December 17th, just in the final days before Christmas. And you'll be hearing this much after that, unless you are one of the aforementioned Patreon patrons. But the premiere was a lot of fun. The film went over very, very well. Here's something I realized. I don't think this is not necessarily something new that I realized, but it's just something that I realized or I was thinking about when I was at this premiere. They asked me, now I puppeteered in this film. I played a character named Iggo. As of my recording, it is not possible to see the film online. If that should change, I would let you know. But I played a little puppet character named Iggo. Closest thing kind of to compare him to would be a Fraggle, sort of what he looks like. Yellow, big ping pong ball eyes, a lot of fun. And this was sort of like this little fantasy adventure. It was a lot of fun. It was a great film. And they asked me if I could make an appearance as Iggo during the premiere, because they were premiering two films. And I said, yeah, sure, I would love to. And so I got there, and it was a big whole process because they were having it. This was at Biola University, and so the premiere was at Biola University, and so they wanted me there, and the premiere started at 7:30. Biola University, if there's no traffic, I would say is probably about 30 minutes away. But because I was doing this puppet thing, they wanted me there early. They wanted me there at like 6. And in order to get there at 6, I had to leave 2 hours early because it's Friday and it's rush hour and it's in the Christmas season. And it literally took me 2 hours to get down there. I had left at 4. I had left before 4 to get down there at 6. I left before 4. I did not get there until 6:20, 6:30. Anyway, got in, did the whole thing. They got me wired up with the mic. He said, okay, this is where it's going to be, and here's where Iggo's going to pop up, and here's the little skit that we've written for you to do. And so we rehearsed all that, and then the show started. And what was interesting was, this is where I sort of came to this realization, is that my fellow cast members were all there, and they were all very, very dressed up. I mean, I was dressed in my puppet blacks, which is a button-down shirt and nice pants, so I was sort of dressed up, but I was in all black. And the fellow castmates, they were like dressed up to the nines because they had a red carpet. They had a step and repeat wall to walk in front of and all this kind of good stuff. One of the other cast members, I forget who it was, came up to me and saw that I had a microphone on and saw that I was all dressed in black. And they said, "Are you doing something during the premiere?" And I said, "Well, you'll kind of have to wait and see." I didn't want to be giving away any spoilers or anything to say that I was or was not. And as the premiere started, and as I was standing in the back watching everything and checking everything out, I realized that I would much rather be working at an event like this than sitting and watching an event like this. I'm very proud of the film. I'm very proud of being in the film. I'm very happy that it premiered. I'm very happy that people liked it. Got a big ovation at the end of it. But I would much rather be puppeteering or performing in some way than being in the show rather than watching the show. And I don't know if I've talked about this before. Many years ago, a group of friends and I went on a road trip up in Canada to follow the band, the Bare Naked Ladies, on 3 of their tour stops in Canada. So it was like a big thing to see Bare Naked Ladies in Canada. Like that's what we were going to do, and it was going to be awesome, and blah, 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 blah. And by the third show, actually, I think it started halfway through the second show, I kind of thought to myself, this is fun. I like the music, but I would much rather be performing than watching. Does that make sense? I would much rather be on the stage than be sitting staring at the stage. Now, of course, whatever I'm doing is not Bare Naked Ladies level of performing, but the idea was the same. I started to get like restless, and I enjoyed the shows, and it's not that the shows were bad. It was just in my head going like, why did I go on this trip when I could be creating or I could be performing or something like this? So it's kind of the same feeling as that I got, but I was on the other end of it at this premiere. I would much rather be performing at the premiere than just being at the premiere. Again, that is not a reflection of the movie, the cast, anything else. It's just my personal preference because I love performing. Speaking of performing, I'm starting a personal YouTube channel. I've had this YouTube channel for a long time, but anyway, I'm really focusing in 2025 on building up this personal YouTube channel. So it's interesting because when I think about things that I'm going to kind of videos I'm going to do, a lot of it is like sort of the same topics as the Grantcast. And so the Grantcast is not going away. The Grantcast is still going to be happening. It's just that I may move the videos for the Grantcast. And by videos, I mean, when this podcast goes out on the Saturday Morning Media YouTube channel, a video will post with just the artwork for the episode and then the audio. I may switch that over to my personal channel, but I may not. I may just keep it here. It depends on the kind of videos that I plan to do there. So if you're looking for a YouTube channel to subscribe to, check out my YouTube channel. Again, I'll have the link for it in the show notes for this episode. Speaking of filming, I wanted to end with a story. My dad had a great little video camera. I think we never had one of those video cameras where you could put a full VHS tape in. I think when my family got a video camera, it was the smaller tapes. Now, it may be Super 8. I don't know if it was the Mini or whatever it was. I don't even remember the brand of the camera. But I got that camera, and being a creator as I am now, I filmed a lot of stuff with it. I would always use that camera and film things. And then I would edit using 2 VCRs, and it was painful. At the time, it wasn't painful. But thinking back about it, it was like, oh, that was painful to do. But I would make little films and something like that. And I remember it must have been a friend of my brother's. And I don't think my brother was in this show, but it was some school function. And some parent asked my parents if they could pay me to videotape this show. And I think I said, yes, I would, because there was money involved or whatever. And it was kind of this thing where I don't think I was in high school. I think like either my mom or dad had to drop me off at this place. And there is this thing that happens with tripods. And if you have a tripod, you have what's called a shoe, I believe, at the bottom of the camera, and you screw that into the little screw part in the bottom of the camera, and that shoe fits into the top of the tripod. It locks it in. And you have to have the right tripod for the right camera, and you have to have the right shoe for the right tripod, etc., etc., etc. And I don't know exactly why, but our regular tripod was not available. And we borrowed a tripod, but I did not get the concept of the correct shoe for the correct tripod. So when I got to the venue to record this, I think it was like a band concert or a chorus concert or something like that. And when I got there to videotape this, the shoe would not fit into the tripod correctly. It was very loose. And I kept trying all these sort of different ways. And I kind of got it set up there. And the camera was aimed at the stage. It was a perfect thing to go. perfect view. I clicked record. The show started. The show was going. And then about, I would say, halfway through the show, I wanted to slowly pan the camera over to look at something else. And as I panned it, the camera, which was not attached to the top of the tripod, fell off, hit the floor, the linoleum junior high school theater floor, and made a big, loud clack of the camera hitting the floor. I instantly flopped sweats as I reached for the camera to pick it up. And every parent in the auditorium was staring at me because I think they all realized what had happened or that the camera had fallen. I put the camera back up on the top of the tripod and just played it off as if nothing had happened. But the camera was broken. The camera was no longer recording. It was done. It was done. And I had to wait for my parents to come pick me up. And when they picked me up, I had to say, this camera is broken, and here is why. And I'm a jerk, and I apologize. And we never got a camera after that. That was it. I did it to myself. Yeah, we didn't have a camera after that because of that horrible moment that I still etched in my brain of the sound of that camera hitting the floor. And, as I pulled it back up, I was like, please still work, but it did not work. Anyway, I think this might be the last podcast of 2024 or the first podcast of 2025. Some of you, it may, for patrons, it may be one. For the public, it may be another. All I want to say is Happy New Year. Thanks for being here. Thanks for checking out the Grantcast. I certainly appreciate it. Thanks for listening. I'm not making any promises of how often or how soon the Grantcast is going to be publishing episodes. All I'm going to say is thanks for being here. I appreciate it. And I will talk to you very, very soon. This episode of the Grantcast was edited by Stephen Staver and made possible by the Saturday Morning Media Patreon patrons who've gone to patreon.com/Saturday Morning Media and set up a pledge for as little as $1 a month. Patrons at the behind-the-scenes level and above get access to a video of the recording of these podcast episodes. Big shout-out to all of our patrons, and a special shout-out to our patron producers, Eve Cunning, Kathy Crawford, Tony Urbano, Brandy, David Akers, Paul, Scott Armstrong, Vicky Sebring, Ricky Chavez, Karina, Jeff Toro, and Lee Thompson. If you'd like to become a patron and receive episodes of the Grantcast before they are released, visit patreon.com/Saturday Morning Media and set up your monthly pledge today. And thank you for your support. This episode of the Grantcast is copyright 2025 Saturday Morning Media Baciocco executive producer. All rights reserved. www.saturdaymorningmedia.com.
Here we go. You've been listening to Saturday Morning Media. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.